Bitcoin, Elon Musk, Dogecoin, sustainable energy. Today we're going to go into a discussion on current events in cryptocurrency. So, it's hard not to be interested in cryptocurrency, this massive emerging thing. Admission by the government of inflation. You see all these numbers go up, people become rich. What's going on? So welcome in, fam. Much love, Trap here. I told a lot of y'all I was buying Bitcoin and to buy Bitcoin since last year. What's happened? The number ran up. It's gone down. It's gone up. It's gone down. It's gone up. It's gone stalled a little bit. And there's a lot of discussion right now about is it bad for the climate? Is it bad for the climate? So I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about Elon Musk and Dogecoin. I'm going to talk about the fear and uncertainty and doubt in the market. And I'm going to talk about why Bitcoin is the most fascinating, interesting thing that you can study. It's so interesting. And I'm going to come back with another video later on the computer with some diagrams, most likely. But to understand Bitcoin, you have to look within the Venn diagrams of economics, technology, psychology, and the environment. And you have to understand narrative and tribalism, and you have to understand virality and social media and cancel culture. You have to understand market cycles, governance, game theory, incentives. You have to understand consensus protocols. You have to understand computer science. You have to understand engineering trade-offs. You have to understand climatism, environmentalism. You have to understand regulation, and you have to understand inflation and deflation. You have to understand tokenomics and tokenization. You have to understand scale. You have to understand sovereignty. You have to understand principles of sound money. It's just so interesting, and these big circles of knowledge and where they overlap, and where Bitcoin is in the middle, and a lot of these interesting conversations are in the middle. So I think a good place to start is talking about the energy debate, because this is so topical right now, before we move into Elon Musk and Dogecoin. But there's understanding the engineering trade-offs. Bitcoin trades off speed, it trades off efficiency, it trades off a lot of things for decentralization, is what it's really about. It's the idea that over time, if people can control the network, they will abuse it. So if Elon Musk wants to take control of Dogecoin and make it the world's money, this is exactly why we need something that can't be that swayed, can't be that influenced by one person, right? This is why, and this is why there's this whole conversation around proof of stake versus proof of work, which is, for anyone who's studied a long time, not really clear, because there's so many trade-offs. But when you play things out to its logical conclusion over hundreds of years, if you become in a proof of stake system, which is low energy, it's more environmentally friendly, you do have a problem where if my stake grows by just having a stake and I don't have to sell to increase my stake over hundreds, thousands of years, it centralizes. And then as it centralizes, you have certain people that can change the policy and make decisions and so on. So a beautiful thing about proof of work is how it gives so many different layers of security and how it's more distributive, because to be a miner, not only do I need to sell the Bitcoin in order to pay for the electricity, but I also need to sell the Bitcoin to upgrade my hardware just to maintain. Yes, you can grow, but it's distributive. You have to sell. So that's a beautiful thing about proof of work. There's a beautiful thing about proof of work that brings it to and ties it to the real world. And being a physical thing means that it takes physical energy, and means that investors become involved. It means that governments become involved. It means that you have just this distributed network of miners add a lot of real world cost and protection. So the question is all this security worth it? And it's really just up to you, because you could say, oh, Bitcoin uses too much energy, but you can also say American Christmas lights use more energy than Ethiopia or El Salvador does in a year. You could say it's a lot of wasted energy. You could say it's a lot of wasted computer chips, but you could also say, like, we don't really need Xboxes and PlayStations. They're not really adding value to society. They're not worth it. So a part of this is just saying, yeah, it's going to use some energy. Yeah, it's going to be some waste, but is it worth it to allow sovereignty, to allow a predictable over the next 100 years monetary policy that's demonstrably very hard for anyone to change? People have tried to change and failed, and that's why they start their own currencies that they're in charge of, where most of these other currencies have a leader. And I'm not saying these other currencies are bad investments, but what's unique about Bitcoin is that it has no living known figurehead, and it's incredibly hard to change. And all the trade-offs were made towards securing the monetary policy, so predictability for the next 100 years. And that makes it a lot of great principles, and this is why people are trying to build upon it with layer 2 and layer 3 technology to make it more Lightning Network and stuff like that, or Visa, MasterCard, PayPal, Venmo, so that it's easier to send Bitcoin. You can send it really fast back and forth this way. But it's more, the payment technology needs a lot of work, but it's a savings technology. Now, what's also interesting in the energy debate is that we waste a lot of energy. Something like a third of our energy is wasted. A huge amount of our energy is rejected. And Bitcoin uses 0.1% of energy. So it could use coal energy, but if that energy was stranded and wasted or excess and sold off the grid anyways, then does it really matter if that money's wasted energy that would have been wasted would be secure our network anyways? So yeah, it matters if it's renewable, it matters if it's sustainable, but it really matters if the energy was going to be wasted. And again, about a third of our energy globally is wasted every year because of mismatch in supply and demand, because of being stranded, just inefficiencies in the system, and more. So it's not really a simple thing, the discussion. It's very complicated. And there's a lot of benefits as well. There's negatives, the computer waste, but there's certain benefits to what Bitcoin is doing. And one of those things is by sucking up stranded energy, it's reducing emissions in certain areas, because you have these gas and you have these oil companies who, as a byproduct of what they're doing, have methane or other natural gases, and they're in the middle of nowhere, and it's sort of hard to trap and transfer and move that energy. It's also sort of hard to trap and transfer and move electricity more than 500 miles. So what ends up happening is traditionally they flare and just waste this energy or burn it into the environment. But now there's an economic incentive for them to convert that energy into Bitcoin instead, so that it's not just emitted into the environment, because Bitcoin can go anywhere, so it tends to go where energy is the cheapest. And where energy is cheapest is usually excess wasted energy, and it also tends to be sustainable energy that is hard to otherwise access, like hydroelectric, for instance, which is happening right now. And there's a huge migration from the summer, when these Chinese miners are using a lot of coal, to a lot more hydroelectric and hydro-friendly. So I personally still believe in it, and think it's a great long-term hold, and think that it's just so hard to stop. It's a cockroach, and the narratives that we have can slow it down, but game theory is a powerful thing, where people respond to incentives, and all the incentives, the technology, and the psychology of everything is made it the monster that it is today, and it's hard to stop. I'm not saying, though, that Ethereum or one of these others couldn't have a bigger use case and couldn't flip the market cap. It's possible Bitcoin replaces gold and doesn't go much further than that, which is still a huge win for it. An accessible savings, because most people can't access gold. Gold has certain divisibility problems. Now, to talk more about Dogecoin and Elon Musk, I think there's a lot of questions there about what's going on, speculation. So I know quite a bit about Elon Musk. There's certain things I like about him. There's certain things I don't dislike about him. I followed him quite a bit. I read his book multiple times. or Ashley Vance's. Uh, I'm not like an expert on Elon Musk, but I paid much closer attention than the average person. He went on Clubhouse with Vlad from Robinhood and some other people right when Clubhouse launched, and he said that he thinks the most entertaining reality should be the reality, and the most entertaining reality, or will be the reality, the most entertaining reality is that Dogecoin will be the currency of humanity. He also believes that um, the future is more exciting when we're traveling to space, and that's a lot of the reason that he's traveling to space is because he wants a more exciting future, and he also wants a more entertaining reality. So this whole time with Dogecoin, he's been working with developers for the last 2 years. He probably has a huge bag of things. He's serious about it. He wants it to be 10x faster, 10x more efficient, 100x cheaper transactions, which will make it a great currency. And maybe he wants to change the tokenomics, the inflation rate. And yeah, so actually at this point, the maturation of the asset, it might be a good investment if Elon Musk can push it up there. However, this also highlights the problem of centralization. We don't want money with the leader. I don't want a person in charge of my money and deciding what makes money good. I want the free market to naturally pick, and also I want the free market to develop in a decentralized way. So that comes back to the beauty of Bitcoin is Elon Musk wants to change Bitcoin, he can't do it. A lot of these founders of different coins, Vitalik Buterin, Charles Hoskinson, the founders of Ethereum, they were Bitcoin devs, but they were limited and frustrated that they couldn't change and build upon it. So yes, that's a shortcoming of Bitcoin. It's not going to process every transaction. It evolves very slowly, but that's the beauty of, can you predict the next 100 years of economic policy on Bitcoin? Yes, possibly forever. The network probably can run just fine on transaction fees when we get to the year 2140. So there's no doubt. Where something like Ethereum, yeah, it has this awesome use case. Yes, it's getting fucked by fees, maybe Cardano or one of these others, Polkadot, Tron, Tezos, whatever has the strongest narrative with technology can come in and take that space. But something like Ethereum has a very unpredictable monetary policy because it's changed EIP 1599. Oh, they're going to make it deflationary. It's a balance. We'll change it. We'll patch it later if we have to. It's hard to really invest that and want to pass it on to your kids because you don't know what's going to happen. So it's more speculative. So there's a lot of these things are other good investments. But if you're holding Bitcoin, I think it's a great long-term hold. And if you want to buy one coin, I still think it's Bitcoin. I do hold a couple others. The ones that I mentioned, I hold a little bit of them, but it's almost all in Bitcoin because I love that it can't be touched. I know that other coins could even pass it up or might emerge, but they're fragile. They can be co-opted. They're not as secure. They have leaders. They're more centralized. And there's a beauty about the stodginess and the physically decentralized nature of Bitcoin compared to these other things. So there's plenty of use for these other cryptocurrencies. It's possible that and one thing that I learned. So if you're invested, whatever you're invested in is fine, I think, because one thing that you learn when you study and you try to understand Bitcoin is that tribalism is one of the key forces at play here. People get invested. Oh, my bag is XRP, so, or like a Chainlink army, or whatever coin it is. People will shill that coin. They'll stick with that coin. They'll find other people who use that coin, and they won't leave that coin. So things go up and down, but I expect there to be many currencies, just like there are many currencies, to have the euro and have the US dollar and to have the pound and to have all these various other, the yuan, all these other currencies. That's tribalism, and there's tribalism in the digital age too. So will Ethereum flip Bitcoin? Both will survive. Both will be huge because the tribalism is set at this point, right? And that can be said of a lot of them. So I think the space is still a great investment. In the long term, what's going to happen in the short term, after so much exponential growth? Are we entering a bear market? Are we entering a bull market? I'm not totally sure. And that's another reason why I like Bitcoin, because Bitcoin does a lot better than these other projects in bear markets historically, in down markets where people don't have a lot of money and don't have a lot of want a lot of risk and want to speculate a lot. They're going to want to bet on something that's predictable, and Bitcoin is predictable. It is the most predictable of them all, and that is cons. It doesn't evolve well, but it's nice. It's really something beautiful about being able to plan around something when you're trying to look 100 years out. This is the only one where you can, it's sort of easy to look into the future. So I hope you found that interesting. Comment down below what your thoughts are on the whole market industry situation. I'm having a lot of fun studying it, so much fun diving in, and it's hard. I understand it's hard being a holder of any of these, because if you look at your bank account and your savings, twice in one day it's the same number if you didn't spend any money, and over time you watch it grow. On the other hand, the price of everything's going up. So even if your money stays the same, it's really shrinking in value. So you have to bet on something. And when you bet on something and you see the number go up and down, fluctuate, there's a risk of losing money. It's something you have to do because you have to play the game so that you don't just lose by default. But it's hard when you win some days, you lose some days. You win some months, you lose some months. You win some years, you lose some years. So I encourage you to be as patient as possible. As Stanford marshmallow experiment, don't eat your marshmallow, which means try to avoid continually buying high, selling at a loss. Buy some projects that you believe in and wait 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years and come back later, right? Because if you bought Bitcoin in the last 3 months, you might be down money, you might be up money. But if you bought Bitcoin in the last 4 years, you were up money. You've never lost by holding it for 4 years. And I expect that to stay true until we have global adoption of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, which by mathematical models grow through the internet as a template, looks like by 2030, over 1 billion people will have Bitcoin, in which case it's like, basically everybody's using it at that point. So it's not here yet. It requires a lot of patience still. And it could happen faster, because there's a study that came out that said 22% of American adults, 40-some million people, already have Bitcoin. And it's exploding in various different countries around the world, especially the ones that have inflating currency. So, it's really interesting to see what will happen, because you have the smart contracts dimension, you have the payment dimension, you have the store value dimension. So I think there's really three key sectors within here. You have store value, which is Bitcoin, and there's Ethereum is maybe trying to compete with it now, but it's basically Bitcoin. You have the smart contracts, which is, I named a lot of them. There's a lot of competition there. And then you have the cheap payments network, which could be XRP, could be Dogecoin, could be Telcoin, could be a number of these others. So if you want to invest, then you invest in emerging technology, which could be the payments, it could be the smart contracts. If you want to save, you put it in the store value, right? Because I don't want to save money in a payments network. I don't want to save money in a smart contracts network. I want to save money in a store value network, right? So it depends what you want. It depends how you split up your portfolio. But yeah, I hope you find that interesting. Tell me what you think, and I'll look forward to hearing what you have to say. So comment down below, and it's gonna be a good day over here. All right, appreciate you. Much love and peace.